Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Moth-Light. This will be part one. We are Hacked in the Dark, a collection of designers, players, and enthusiasts of Forged in the Dark games. Um, and Justin, if you wouldn't mind reminding us where we're at right now.
So we are playing in the Promise Pact for Moth-Light, and I'm going to be your GM as well as the designer of the game. And last episode, we got to know our characters. We got to see what their quest was about the message that they're trying to send to the Ember Wish, who lives in the ruins of an ancient city. And as we traversed the terrain, we learned a little bit more about the threats that you face. And we hijacked a tram. And that's where we're going to end up in the beginning of this game today.
I think you rebuilt it.
That's right. You reconfigured it such that it could run. It was quite impressive. We got to see a lot of we got to see the various characters' capabilities. We got to see how Nychelle's character Sequa is a pretty badass hacker, essentially, whenever she wants to be. And I'm really excited to start today's game with a bang. So who are all of you?
Hi, I'm Nychelle, she, her, and I'm playing Sequa, the favorite.
I'm Mike, or Esker, he, him, and I'm playing Ketu, the heart.
And I'm Travis. Anything's good for me. I'm playing Vholt, the sage.
And I'm Danielle. I use she or they pronouns, and I'm playing T.S.E.E.R, the shell.
And your character looks like the owl out of Clash of Titans, yes? Just to establish that for the viewers who watched the last episode. Imagine that, but bigger and more imposing.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to think about, actually. So last episode, we ended kind of in downtime after on a peaceful tram ride through an underground military base. And this episode, I kind of want to do some hard training, but first we're going to kind of get into the action. I'm going to ask you a few questions, which is basically, when we look at your characters on the tram, how do you pass the time? Let's start with you, Esker. Is Ketu good at passing long periods of time without...
Not particularly.
Speaking? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, this is the... needs to be given an activity every once in a while. You know, like draw on the tram with chalk equivalent, etc.
Nychelle, what about Sequa?
Sequa is pretty much just chilling in her own mind space, just sitting there. Occasionally when Ketu comes up and says, I'm bored or something like that, just be like, just pulls out another piece of chalk or something like that.
Tog, is Vholt lost in the workings of this machine like I would think that they would be? Or like, you probably don't need to drive it, right? It's just a matter of looking out to make sure you're not going to crash into some debris or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably even smart enough to like tell you or alert you if there would be something catastrophic, I'm sure. So yeah, given that, I think as much as Vholt would be very into like technology that's very old like that, I think he probably is more interested in telling stories, like not needing to, like, as interesting as something might be to interact with, if you don't need to interact with it, it's probably pretty boring. So probably more amusing for Vholt to tell like stories, maybe even to Ketu, keep him occupied during the trip. Stories about just ridiculous technology that's been uncovered by the new steel, or things, legends of the predecessors.
How do you feel about that, Ketu?
Yeah. I think most of it is like, yeah, I've heard this stuff before, but every once in a while, Ketu's like, oh, that's, I haven't heard that one before, and then like hones in, tell me about this,
Yeah, this TI-83, what'd you say it was?
Seer, I have a different question for you.
Mm-hmm.
When Nomen appears to you, what do they look like?
He is a man with light skin, kind of average height and build, with an undercut and a top knot, brown hair, brown eyes, dressed in like nice button down and slacks.
We see you on the tram, probably having taken one of the seats. It's very bus-like in terms of like, it's a very large vehicle that could fit a lot of people if they needed to. And maybe we even see you staring out the window as like the lights from the tunnel flash by. And when at one moment we're seeing your reflection, Seer, and the next we see Nomen. And he says to you, why are you returning here?
What? And Seer looks around from the window.
The city. This is where it happened.
Seer looks around the tram for a second to see if anyone else is reacting. And presumably they're not. They're involved in their own things. And he looks back at Nomen and says, we have to find the Ember Wish.
Watch yourself, Seer. And then like a flash, and then he's gone. About a little bit after this, Vholt, you see something flashing on the console.
Oh,
and
Ketu.
then suddenly, there's a swerve, and all of you are kind of like jolted, maybe like coming up against something, against like walls or like holding onto rails or whatever. And the tram just comes to a stop. And you look outside the windows, and there are shadows. And then you can see what look like figures, like walking around in this wide, like subway-esque kind of expanse around you. But it's fairly dark here. Many of the lights have been broken or removed? ? What do you do?
So immediately I would go over to the console. Is there anything the tram we had described it as having like pretty bright forward lights? I assume that's vacant. Like there's not really any figures in that area.
No, they're kind of staying to either side. But you see what has made you stop, which is like there's been some debris that's been like rolled into the tracks, essentially. You actually look at it and you realize it even has wheels. Like it's been maybe designed for this. Like people have attached, welded wheels onto some just large piece of debris to kind of like move it onto the tracks when they need to.
Yeah, I think Vholt would kind of point at it for a second. He's like, well, that's a bit curious. And maybe start looking out towards, I suppose we have, I guess perhaps we are the guests of somebody? Ketu, are there more people than the Ember Wish in this city?
Oh, it's a big city. So GM, would I? Where is? Yeah, what would I know about this city? Where is
I thought about this.
the Ember Wish located in comparison?
So the Ember Wish has essentially like a stronghold. The city is not particularly populated, right? It's ruined and destroyed, and most people don't. There's not a lot of people who live on the surface. There are some keeper clans who come through here seasonally, but they're all preparing to leave and go to the desert. The Ember Wish and her folks are one of the few people who stick around year round. Physically on a map, if you were to imagine like the military base you came from was somewhere in Death Valley, let's say, an Area 51 or whatever, then the tram you've been taking would have been taking you towards LA, and you would have just now hit the outskirts. So you still have a long way to go, right? And it's a huge area. So that's kind of what I want to give to you, and you're underground. So the Ember Wish is closer to the center, we'll say.
Okay. Then I guess Ketu will tell you that, yeah, we are still far off, and don't know who these people are or what they want. Could be dangerous.
With that, the lights in the tram like start to flicker and then just like go off, and then emergency lights come on. And we see some of the shadowy figures like step out now that the headlights are out, and we just see them kind of like lit barely by these interior lighting that penetrates the windshield essentially. And they just yell loudly. This is our territory. Step out. Let's talk.
Ketu gets done telling me that there are potentially dangerous people, and I'm like, they sound friendly enough, and I hit the button to open the door.
Mm-hmm. You do, and as you get out, your eyes start to adjust, and you can see in front of you are some new steel figures, some warriors, and raiders and such. Led by they're individuals dressed in relatively actually modern looking clothing, except I think a lot of them maybe don't have a shirt to go with their jacket essentially. Or they're wearing very mismatched clothing, perhaps. So like maybe just some underwear to go with like a two-piece shirt and vest or something like that.
And they put it on the outside, not understanding.
Yeah, exactly. But their leader steps into the light, and I wonder if this might be someone you would know, Vholt. Vholt, are you a fan of the sport of jamming? This is a player character decision. I'm okay either way.
Yeah, I think that Vholt would be aware of it, and it's probably something that matters to like whatever clan.
To your clan.
Yeah, like individual clan that he's part of. But I guess it's tangentially or like pretty related to the predecessors, but it's not like technology. It's not like
it's a cultural pastime that you acknowledge but have never been particularly interested in, is what I'm kind of gathering.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the edification of the viewers and other players, jamming is a reclaimed sport that some of the New Steel clans participate in. The Warrens have a lot of infighting, and this is one way to kind of work out this aggression is through these annual tourneys. And one of the ways you can get to know some of the other Warrens as well is through following their teams and watching them. And this is Lemon's Wild of the Wild Pack team, and also the leader of one of the Warrens in this region called the Resort. and you maybe didn't even know where it was before, but now you're relatively certain that it's beneath this ancient city. So standing before you, Loman's Wild, I think he has a shaved head with kind of like a downward mohawk, plenty of piercings, a blue jacket with ripped off sleeves, under which just a bare chest, and kind of like punk-ish pants, let's say, with lots of like necklaces and what have you, and kind of a wild expression. Knowing this and his reputation, how do you feel?
I think Vholt would be able to instantly recognize these people as being members of at least a clan. And
I guess of your clan, but of a different warren, of a different sect, kind of New Steel folks, right?
Yeah. Oh, right. So warren rather than clan is the denotation. But yeah, I mean, and I think I'm probably recognizable as well, I would imagine. Vholt definitely has a lot of stuff. So he probably steps off the tram and maybe like taps to life his little lantern he has, because I'm prepared for underground. And it casts this light over Lemon. And I think I'm probably not, I probably don't follow the sport jamming like quite well enough to like name players. But maybe I would be able to like recognize the colors or something like that. And I think Vholt would kind of pause for a second and be like, I don't know what a casual greeting between New Steels are.
There might not be one.
Yeah.
Right? It might just be like, I think that their greeting to you essentially is, "What are you doing here? This is our warren," kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I think Vholt will just kind of be like, we are. I am on a journey to the center of a ruined city. I believe it is just overhead. And he kind of pauses for a second.
You mean the Downs?
I don't know if anybody's getting off behind me.
That's a colloquial name, yeah.
Sequa is just standing back, arms crossed, like just a little bit of an eyebrow of like,
you're letting
people.
You're letting him handle it, I see.
Yeah, he wants to do this. These are part of his people. He hasn't asked for help yet.
T.S.E.E.R is standing one step behind and to the right of Vholt.
Ketu, you've traveled a lot as a scattered clan person. Have you ever spent time in a New Steel warren before?
Probably, yeah.
Do you have any feelings on jamming?
So is it just the New Steel, the jam, or do the other?
I think it depends on the game, but I think primarily it's their sport, yeah. Because they're obsessed with like reclaimed technology, reclaimed traditions and technology and clothing and everything like that.
Okay, yeah, I think Ketu thinks this is super cool and is like slightly starstruck, you know.
This would be one of the speakers to be starstruck by, because if you've seen him in the arena, he has a very flamboyant style, and his team is not the most winningest team per se, but it is one of the most exciting. It's like your favorite wrestler isn't necessarily the most reigning wrestler in the world necessarily. That kind of a thing.
Yeah. So assuming he doesn't. Well, no, he responded to me about the Downs. So yeah, I'll continue that. Yes, the council has chosen us, and I'll kind of gesture backwards without having looked towards presumably my compatriots, and just kind of like, yeah, we have been chosen to deliver a warning. It is very important.
Oh? We'll give it here.
Well, unfortunately, we were
It's
the ones
verbal.
chosen.
What are you... I didn't choose you. What are you waiting for?
We
Some
are.
of his warriors kind of like adopt like crossed arms and like glaring expressions at you.
Oh, see, I think I'm confused
Mhm.
in player, and probably in character
Uh-huh.
would reflect that, because he says, "What are you waiting for?" I'm like, "We're not waiting. We're on the journey currently."
No. You don't understand. You're traveling through our territory. Everything you have on you now belongs to us,
Uh,
including your mission.
Oh, so you will take us on our way? Because now the words that I hold within my head are the words that you will now hold in your head.
That sounds pretty wild, but yeah,
Sweet.
if I deem them worthy,
Can you direct us, please, in the right direction?
absolutely. Follow us.
Wonderful. I'm Sequa, by the way.
Lemons, and then he'll hold out a hand uh, for
Yeah.
you to kiss.
She just kind of like,
Just touches it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, if you all let yourselves be led from the tram, he and his warriors will surround you. There's a lot of them. And they will lead you into the tunnels. It's kind of a wild trip, which I think Vholt and I guess Ketu would be used to, of like wandering. Imagine wandering through an ancient abandoned sewer that also like they've torn open holes in vents and tunnels to kind of make new passageways, and it's essentially a little maze of travel down here. Does anyone use this time to ask questions about what they intend to do with you? There definitely is a attitude of they've taken you prisoner, and essentially like you've let yourselves come of your own volition, but there's kind of like there's definitely like an aggressive posture here on their part.
I think Ketu is spending time trying to get at least one of them to do the official handshake for the team.
Oh yeah, if you bring that up, it's like, wait, you've watched one of my games?
Yeah. When I visited the, insert city here. Yeah.
Look, everyone, a fan. And then it's like, oh, a fan. And you look around, and it's his team is like makes up like half the people here. You like recognize them by name. Probably too many names for me to come up with on the fly at the moment. But yeah, there's the tough one. This the daredevil. You could name a bunch of them by their moniker if you wanted to. And he'll do it. What is the handshake like?
There's like the fist bump, explosion, finger
Yes.
guns.
A little too much explosion. It's like a lot, like explosion after explosion is essentially
It turns into jazz
his
hands.
style. Yeah, it's essentially just jazz hands at some point. Well, it's always good to meet an admirer. Don't worry, we'll turn your friends into fans as well. Come. And very soon after this, the dark tunnels of like torn metal, like tetanus waiting to happen, style surroundings, dramatically turn into something else. They open up they turn a big wheel and open up kind of like a vault style door, and just like neon lights are just pouring out, and you have to adjust for a second. And suddenly you are in a casino or like some kind of entertainment area, essentially, with like all of these lights having been kind of reconfigured to like light up the interior of this warren. And you see a fair number of people like milling about. There are the sounds that you would expect at like a casino of like warbled announcements by some mindless computer, the occasional dinging or whatever. You see people occasionally like using some of the areas to play virtual games, that kind of stuff. But the odd thing here is it's just kind of normal people, like people of all ages are here. Like they live here. They live here in this place. So there's also like markets and stuff like that strewn about, and like places where people are, curing. They just have animals, penned up underneath the neon lights, like with the machines, that kind of stuff. How do you feel about this? Sequa, you come from a place that's relatively advanced as well and safe. This is a little more hectic, and you might get a headache if you just like sit here and take in the noise. How do you feel about people living down here?
Not very good.
Yeah. There's a lot of buzzing in your head too. Probably for all of you who aren't used to it, like lots of different predecessor devices and computers just kind of like trying to connect, asking for the Wi-Fi access essentially. If you don't know how to tune it out, it can probably be a bit obnoxious.
Yeah, I think she would probably just be more so quiet and just like trying to absorb all this information that's being relayed by the scene, while trying not to like panic.
Well, I'll help you with that, because what they do is they take you to an old structure that has essentially been turned into like a holding area, and they throw you in, basically, and stand at the door and are like, when you've decided to give us what we want, you can leave. Until then, you're free to roam.
In the pen,
here.
like the animals?
No. We'll have visitation hours, so to speak.
Oh, so it is a zoo.
Mm-hmm. And you're the main exhibit.
Lovely. Yet you don't want to hear the words that I have in my head?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do.
You do? Because you don't seem to be taking me seriously.
I do. I take you very seriously. What is it so valuable that the council had to intervene?
See, we've already had this conversation. Do you not remember us having this conversation?
You're going to the Ember Wish. Why not me?
I mean, the words will be in your head. You said that you'd take us there.
I just want a little taste first, I guess you could say.
But again, we've already talked about this.
Are you trying to gaslight him a little bit?
Yeah. Like, we've already talked about this.
You can, but what's your goal? Like, what do you want to accomplish with this, like, manipulation? Do you want to get him to leave you alone? Do you want to...
I want him to take us seriously.
Have more freedom? Take you seriously? Okay.
I want him to take us seriously. That he's already learned the words. Obviously, I'm not going to be telling him.
He actually, I think you can do so, but that's going to have no effect to start. It's desperate, because this is his stronghold, right? And he doesn't have any reason to, like, just give up what he's taken, as far as he's concerned.
Okay.
Do you want to pursue it?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm also I would like to mark a supply
Mm-hmm.
because I have hearsay. So essentially, what I'm going to mark
Okay.
down is I'm going to have him remember a couple of rumors or something else that I also told him that
You want to feed him something that he might think is useful, or
Yeah.
are you lying? Are you saying that that is the message?
I'm going to twist it a little bit. I'm not going to give him the full picture. So based on his perspective, he's going to view this is the truth,
Okay. And what
where
action?
it's
Do you
only
think?
fragments.
What action do you think you're rolling here?
Oh,
Is this relate,
I think I was thinking it
mislead,
was
or
related.
is it mislead if you're lying?
I think it's more of a relate.
Yeah, definitely no effect to start that.
Okay.
So how are you going to get some effect?
Do you have a double sparkin? Because I can't push.
Yeah, you can ingratiate yourself to him, but the only person to get that kind of attention will be you for the time being.
Remind me again what that is.
That is to say, you will have the freedom to roam about or do as you will for a while, but your friends will remain here.
Are we in a room or a pen?
You're in essentially an animal pen for the time being, but the promise is like you won't have to stay here. This is just like where they're keeping you. This is where they're going to put the screws to you to be like give them what they want, basically.
I don't know if you're planning on accepting that devil's bargain, but I would be willing to assist as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know that Vholt is doing intentionally, per se, but I think as soon as Lemon tries to start talking to Sequa and this exchange starts going on, Vholt would be like, "Oh, listen, talking to her is always like this. Like it is a challenge at the best of times."
It's like navigating a maze. All right. What do you think, Nychelle?
Yeah, I could also assist, or
Technically,
help on
only
this
one.
group. Okay,
Like
that's
in
right.
Blades, only one person could assist,
Yeah.
unless this becomes a group role.
I'd be willing to throw in on a group roll.
Do we want to do a group roll?
With the goal of ingratiating yourself to Lemon's Wild, basically? Is that the idea?
I don't like that word. um,
You stop.
What's that, Nychelle? You're muted a little bit.
sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, it keeps accidentally muting.
You're good now.
Okay. So, I would say that I don't think that she would feel that her pact would be useful to her still stuck inside the pen.
Right.
So I don't think I'm going to take the devil's bargain. I will take the assist though.
Okay.
If we want to do it that way, or we could try to do a group action.
A group action would have more chance of success, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think a group action here is definitely needed.
Then if Sequa is a friend or rival to you, take up 1 die. If they're not, take up 0 dice. You can push yourself, etc., if you wish. And Nychelle, take up your 3 dice for relate, knowing that you have to get extra effect somehow for this to do anything, because you started 0.
Do you think that my supply would technically count as
Hearsay?
a potential effect here?
It depends. If your goal is to gaslight him, probably not. If your goal is to get his attention and ingratiate yourself, then yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do the latter.
Okay.
Can I throw out a bargain for myself, I guess?
For an extra die, yeah, you can.
Yeah. So I think what I'm imagining here is we're doing this negotiation, and then Ketu's like, "Hey, you want to see something really rad that's gonna blow your top here?" You know, and like eats the message thing,
Mm-hmm.
assuming it's small enough. You know.
We never decided how big it was, but yeah, it could be. It could be like it's impressive that you eat it. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing, but still small enough that you could. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now they're forced,
I love it.
probably angry with me and forced to talk to Sequa. You know. So,
I will accept that devil's bargain.
all right.
Wait, you're actually eating? This isn't a magic
Yeah,
trick?
he's swallowing it.
Yeah.
All right. Bold move.
No metal detectors are needed in our future.
All right, everyone, roll. Who's involved in this correction? And actually, Nychelle, do you want to push yourself at all?
No.
Okay. The consequence here will be that they will need something to like prove your worth, essentially. That will be the consequence. But a partial success will kind of get you both, right? They'll trust you enough to maybe let you roam free, but they'll still need to prove your worth before they'll let you go. So let's see the results.
I rolled 0 dice. So it's not good. You're not going to like this. I've got 2 1s already.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 5.
A 3, a 3, and a 5.
So you got a mixed success, and Nychelle, take 1 stress.
Yep.
Does that give you a mark?
Yes, it does.
I think that is because of how prolonged this ends up being. He ends up being a tough negotiator in this regard. Maybe we even see like time passing as like you plead with him.
On and on and on, and she is so bored.
He visits you multiple times, right? Before this is done, and then he says like, "All right, if you won't give it to me, there's one more way to earn my trust."
Such as?
And remember, someone could I guess since this is a consequence, someone could resist it, right? What do you know about jamming?
Isn't that where you put the ball in the hole and there's like sands and like little flags?
Yes, but also it's much more than that. And maybe this is even where like one of the screens that they've repaired, like he hits a button and there's like his highlights kind of reel from the arena. Yes.
Oh, no.
And so as players, as like viewers, we would get like the rundown of what jamming is, etc. But for the listeners, basically it's like a mixture of roller derby meets like the Mesoamerican game or something like that. Meets blitzball, we decided, from Final Fantasy X. But he's like, look, our people here are bored, and you look around and everyone's like playing casino games, like video games. We could use some distraction. And the arena hasn't, well, last season wasn't so great for us, so. What do you say?
I'll tell you what. I have a different proposition for you, and I think that this is kind of sort of a way of, well, actually, I don't think I can even resist. Have you guys ever listened to like the story of our ancestors? What do you know of our history?
I think Vholt just like cocks an eyebrow, like. I'm sorry.
Lemon raises an eyebrow. It's like, look, I know I don't speak like you folks in Fallen Leaf, but I'm a leader around here, and I'm a leader I'm the leader of this clan for a reason. Understand?
Yeah,
What
and
do I
what
know
about
about the
children?
ancestors? I'm a goddamn speaker, lady. I speak to them all the time.
Just
And then he
you
like
to open your mouth at them doesn't make you a speaker.
he raises a hand and like several screens like flash on, and we see like an ancient jamming game. He raises a left hand, more screens to his left flash on, and it's like some heartwarming television show from back in the day, like garbled and cut with various things. Like the speakers are all around us, man. You just have to
But they're
listen.
not. But they have no soul. They have no heart. They have no meaning.
Well, then show
What
me.
have you said recently that actually means something to your people?
You wound me. You wound me, Sequa.
Have I? Or would you actually like to prove on whether or not I can speak better than you?
Oh. Here's the deal. He stares you down. And here's what he'll lay down for you. You can act as your team's speaker, even though you shouldn't have that honor as a non-New Steel clans person. Your friends will compete. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. It just matters that you play.
And if we play, I'm guessing you will take us to the end of the territory.
Well, no one goes that far. And that's the Keeper's territory up above. But we'll take you as far as we can. And we won't ask any questions. And it looks to Ketu, who you're not having any difficulties, or
Not yet.
okay.
Just kind of looks back at everyone and is like, they're more than welcome to play.
Good. I'm excited to put my team up against them, and then he looks to T.S.E.E.R actually, and I think you get the idea that he thinks going up against a predecessor machine, like that sounds like the most amazing thing he could possibly think about, and who's going to brag about it probably for years to come.
I think T.S.E.E.R
Mm-hmm.
crouches, jumps into the air, does a barrel roll over this dude, and lands on the opposite side outside of the pen, looks up at him and says, "Bring it on."
He just smiles and he's like, "This is going to be awesome."
And don't forget that being a speaker, I will talk of your losing from here to the end of the earth.
You smack talk out of character, Nychelle, but you took a mark during that negotiation.
I did.
After this, as we're preparing, we maybe get to see you all in the room. I'll explain how the game works, because this is a fun thing for me, because now I get to bring in mechanics from a different Pact that has not been published yet into our own for us to use, which is exciting. I'll talk about that soon. But do you have a thought on what mark you want to choose? And we should talk about what that means for your character. Oh, you're muted again.
Yes, I would. How marks work.
So a mark in Blades, they're called traumas. I don't call them that. So a mark is something a way in which you've been changed. It's not inherently negative, actually. It can be just like a symbol of some tough experience that you've been through. In your case, you've been traveling halfway around the world with strange folks with a lot of expectations on your back, and you just had to get through this tense negotiation in which you were put at the forefront as representative of this pact. And that's probably where this is coming from, right? Mm-hmm. If you had failed, who knows what would have happened? Maybe they would have just robbed you and taken what they wanted. And Like you're in the middle of their territory. It would have been difficult to stop them. So there are a number of suggested marks. I will go to the character sheets and give you some examples. Go to the reference table. But like a very simple one would be like scarred, or what have you, or it might be haunted, or paranoid might be a mark that you can take. The important bit is that you wear it on your sleeve. So whatever mark you choose, and we can, if you need more time, we can think about that. But whatever mark you choose, other people notice unless you're trying to hide it.
That's a really good way to put that.
I think strain.
Strained? Oh, you're muted again. Just a little bit. But I heard
Sorry,
you.
I don't know why I have tonight.
We'll work out the sound issues in the next after a break. But yeah, strained actually seems like a good one. So like you're a little strung out. You appear a little strung out to other people from now on.
A little.
Oh no! Should we take a break at this time to figure it out?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
almost been an hour.
Yeah, it's a good time anyway. But to leave off our viewers before we take a short break and figure out sound issues, what you get, and we'll come back and do a little planning and explain the game, is you get to see the jamming arena as we go up from the locker rooms. And you get to see like there's this podium with like a central stage, and around it is this wide circular like hemispheric arena where the jammers kind of roll on. There's obstacles that they put in the way. This is like the casino we're in, so like it's a pretty wild looking one with all kinds of ramps and what have you. There's like the whole thing is like a half dome, circular around this podium, and there's announcers and stuff announcing everything. So we're getting hyped, and then we're going to go to commercial break to figure out our sound issues and refresh ourselves. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys in a little bit then.